The barge she sat in, by Enobarbus, from Antony and Cleopatra, Act II, Scene 2, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Tony Addison. I will tell you. The barge she sat in, like a burnished throne, burned on the water. The poop was beaten gold, purple the sails, and so perfumed that the winds were love-sick with them. The oars were silver, which to the tune of flutes kept stroke, and made the water which they beat to follow faster, as amorous of their strokes. For her own person it beggared all description. She did lie in her pavilion, cloth of gold of tissue, or picturing that Venus where we see the fancy outwork nature. On each side her stood pretty dimpled boys, like smiling cupids, with divers coloured fans, whose wind did seem to glow the delicate cheeks, which they did cool, and what they undid, did. Her gentle women, like the Nereides, so many mermaids, tended her in the eyes, and made their bairns adornings. At the helm a seeming mermaid steers, the silken tackle swell with the touches of those flower-soft hands that nearly frame the office. From the barge a strange invisible perfume hits the scents of the adjacent wharfs. The city cast a people out upon her, and Antony, enthroned in the market-place, did sit alone, whistling to the air, which, but for vacancy, had gone to gaze on Cleopatra too, and made a gap in nature. Upon her landing, Antony sent to her, invited her to supper. She replied, it should be better he became her guest, which she entreated. Our courteous Antony, whom ne'er the word of no woman heard speak, being barbered 10 times o'er, goes to the feast, and for his ordinary pays his heart for what his eyes eat only. I saw her once hop 40 paces through the public street, and having lost her breath, she spoke and panted, that she did make defect perfection, and breathless power breathe forth. Now Antony must leave her utterly. Never, he will not. Age cannot wither her, nor custom stale her infinite variety. Other women cly the appetites they feed, but she makes hungry where most she satisfies. For vilest things become themselves in her, that the holy priests bless her when she is riggish. End of The Barge She Sat In, from Antony and Cleopatra, Act II, Scene 2. This recording is in the public domain.
I Would Not Be Thy Executioner, by Phoebe, from As You Like It, Act III, Scene 5, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Maria Casper. I would not be thy executioner. I fly thee, for I would not injure thee. Thou tellest me there is murder in mine eye. 'Tis pretty, sure, and very probable that eyes, that are the frailest and softest things, who shut their coward gates on atomies, should be called tyrants, butchers, murderers. Now I do frown on thee with all my heart, and if mine eyes can wound, now let them kill thee. Now, counterfeit to swound. Why now, fall down. Or if thou canst not, oh, for shame, for shame! Lie not to say mine eyes are murderers. Now show the wound mine eye hath made in thee. Scratch thee but with a pin, and there remains some scar of it. Lean but upon a rush, the cicatrice incapable impressure thy palm some moment keeps. But now mine eyes, which I have darted at thee, hurt thee not, nor, I am sure, there is no force in eyes that can do hurt. End of I Would Not Be Thy Executioner, from As You Like It, Act 3, Scene 5, by William Shakespeare. This recording is in the public domain. It is not the fashion to see the lady the epilogue, by Rosalind, from As You Like It, Epilogue, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org, by Maria Casper. It is not the fashion to see the lady the epilogue, but it is no more unhandsome than to see the lord the prologue. If it be true that good wine needs no bush, 'tis true that a good play needs no epilogue. Yet to good wine they do use good bushes, and good plays prove the better by the help of good epilogues. What a case am I in, then, that am neither a good epilogue, nor cannot insinuate with you in the behalf of a good play? I am not furnished like a beggar, therefore to beg will not become me. My way is to conjure you, and I'll begin with the women. I charge you, O women, for the love you bear to men, to like as much of this play as please you. And I charge you, O men, for the love you bear to women, as I perceive by your simpering none of you hate them, that between you and the women the play may please. If I were a woman, I would kiss as many of you as had beards that pleased me, complexions that liked me, and breaths that I defied not. And I am sure as many as have good beards, or good faces, or sweet breaths, will, for my kind offer, when I make a curtsy, bid me farewell. End of It is not the fashion to see the lady the epilogue, from As You Like It, Epilogue. This recording is in the public domain.
The crickets sing, and man's o'erlaboured sense, by Iachimo, from Cymbeline, Act 2, Scene 2, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org, by Tony Addison. The crickets sing, and man's o'erlaboured sense repairs itself by rest. Our Tarquin thus did softly press the rushes, ere he wakened the chastity he wounded. Cytherea, how bravely thou becomest thy bed, fresh lily, and whiter than the sheets that I might touch. But kiss, one kiss, rubies unparagoned, how dearly they do it. 'Tis her breathing that perfumes the chamber thus. The flame of the taper bows toward her, and would underpeep her lids, to see the enclosed lights now canopied under these windows, white and azure laced with blue of heaven's own tinct. But my design, to note the chamber, I will write all down. Such and such pictures, there the window, such the adornment of her bed, the arras, figures, why, such and such, and the contents of the story. Ah, but some natural notes about her body, above 10,000 meaner movables, would testify to enrich mine inventory. O sleep, thou ape of death, lie dull upon her, and be her sense but as a monument thus in a chapel lying. Come off, as slippery as the Gordian knot was hard. 'Tis mine, and this will witness outwardly as strongly as the conscience does within to the madding of her lord. On her left breast a mole sank spotted, like the crimson drops i' the bottom of a cowslip. Here's a voucher stronger than ever law could make. This secret will force him think I have picked the lock and ta'en the treasure of her honour. No more. To what end? Why should I write this down that's riveted, screwed to my memory? She hath been reading late the tale of Tereus. Here the leaf's turned down where Philomel gave up. I have enough. To the trunk again, and shut the spring of it. Swift, swift, you dragons of the night, that dawning may bear the raven's eye. I lodge in fear, though this a heavenly angel hell is here. 1, 2, 3, time, time. End of The Crickets Sing and Man's O'Laboured Sense, from Cymbeline, Act 2, Scene 2. This recording is in the public domain.
Speak the speech, I pray you, from Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 2, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by J. Oldpecker. Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you, trippingly on the tongue. But if you mouth it, as many of our players do, I had as live the town crier spoke my lines. Nor do not saw the air too much with your hand thus, but use all gently, for in the very torrent, tempest, and, as I may say, whirlwind of your passion, you must acquire and beget a temperance that may give it smoothness. Oh, it offends me to the soul to hear a robustious, periwig-pated fellow tear a passion to tatters, to very rags, to split the cars of the groundlings, who, for the most part, are capable of nothing but inexplicable dumb shows and noise. I would have such a fellow whipped for o'erdoing Termagant. It out-Herods Herod. Pray you avoid it. Be not too tame, neither, but let your own discretion be your tutor. Suit the action to the word to the action, with this special observance, that you o'erstep not the modesty of nature, for anything so overdone is from the purpose of playing, whose end both at the first and now was and is to hold, as 'twere the mirror up to nature, to show virtue her own feature, scorn her own image, and the very age and body of the time his form and pressure. Now this overdone, or come tardy off, though it make the unskilful laugh, cannot but make the judicious grieve, the censure of the which one must be in your allowance o'erweigh a whole theatre of others. Oh, there be players that I have seen play, and heard others praise, and that highly, not to speak it profanely, that, neither having the accent of Christians, nor the gait of Christian, pagan, nor man, have so strutted and bellowed, that I have thought some of nature's journeymen had made men, and not made them well. They imitated humanity so abominably. Oh, reform it altogether, and let those that play your clowns speak no more than is set down for them. For there be of them that will themselves laugh, to set on some quantity of barren spectators to laugh too, though in the meantime some necessary question of the play be then to be considered. That's villainous, and shows a most pitiful ambition in the fool that uses it. Go, make you ready. End of Speak the Speech, I Pray You, from Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 2. This recording is in the public domain. Recording by J. Oldpecker. To Be or Not to Be by Hamlet, from Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1 by William Shakespeare, read in English for LibriVox.org by J. Oldpecker. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. To die, to sleep, no more, and by asleep to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin? Who would these fardels bear, to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of? Thus conscience does make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pith and moment with this regard their currents turn awry and lose the name of action. Soft you now, the fair Ophelia, nymph, in thy orisons be all my sins remembered. End of To Be or Not to Be by Hamlet, from Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain. Recording by J. Oldpecker.
'Tis Not Due Yet by Falstaff, from Henry IV, Part 1, Act 5, Scene 1. Performed in English for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman.
'Tis not due yet? I would be loath to pay him before his day. What need I be so forward with him that calls not on me? Well, 'tis no matter. Honour pricks me on. Yea, but how if honour prick me off when I come on? How then? Can honour set to a leg? No. Or an arm? No. Or take away the grief of a wound? No. Honour hath no skill in surgery, then? No. What is honour? A word. What is in that word, honour? What is that honour? Air. A trim reckoning. Who hath it? he that died o' Wednesday. Doth he feel it? No. Doth he hear it? No. 'Tis insensible then. Yea, to the dead. But will it not live with the living? No. Why? Detraction will not suffer it. Therefore I'll none of it. Honour is a mere scutcheon, and so ends my catechism.
End of 'Tis Not Due Yet, from Henry IV, Part 1, Act 5, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain. I Know Thee Not, Old Man, by King Henry V, from Henry IV, Part 2, Act 5, Scene 5, by William Shakespeare, performed in English for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers. How ill white hairs become a fool and jester! I have long dreamed of such a kind of man, so surfeit-swelled, so old, and so profane. But being awaked, I do despise my dream. Make less thy body hence, and more thy grace. Leave gormandizing. Know the grave doth gape for thee thrice wider than for other men. Reply not to me with a full-born jest. Presume not that I am the thing I was. For God doth know, so shall all the world perceive, that I have turned away my former self. So will I those that kept me company. When thou dost hear I am as I have been, approach me, and thou shalt be as thou wast, the tutor and feeder of my riots. Till then I banish thee, on pain of death, as I have done the rest of my misleaders, not to come near our person by 10 mile. For competence of life I will allow you, that lack of means enforce you not to evil. And, as we hear you do reform yourselves, we will, according to your strengths and qualities, give you advancement. Be it your charge, my lord, to see performed the tenor of our word. Set on! End of I Know Thee Not, Old Man, from Henry IV, Part 2, Act 5, Scene 5. This recording is in the public domain.
Marry, If Thou Wert an Honest Man, by Mistress Quickly, from Henry IV, Part 2, Act 2, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Maria Casper. Marry, if thou wert an honest man, thyself and the money too, thou didst swear to me upon a parcel-gilt goblet, sitting in my dolphin chamber at the round table by a sea-coal fire upon Wednesday in Weeson week, when the prince broke thy head for liking his father to a singing man of Windsor. Thou didst swear to me then, as I was washing thy wound, to marry me, and make me, my lady, thy wife. Canst thou deny it? Did not Goodwife Keech, the butcher's wife, come in then, and call me Gossip Quickly, coming in to borrow a mess of vinegar, telling us she had a good dish of prawns, whereby thou didst desire to eat some, whereby I told thee they were ill for a green wound? And didst thou not, when she was gone downstairs, desire me to be no more so familiarity with such poor people, saying that ere long they should call me madam? And didst thou not kiss me, and bid me fetch thee 30 shillings? I put thee now to thy book oath. Deny it, if thou canst. End of Marry, If Thou Wert an Honest Man, by Mistress Quickly, from Henry IV, Part 2, Act 2, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain. Open Your Ears, by Rumour, from Henry IV, Part 2, Prologue, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Maria Casper. Open your ears, for which of you will stop the vent of hearing when loud rumour speaks? I, from the Orient to the drooping West, making the wind my post-horse, still unfold the acts commenced on this ball of earth. Upon my tongue's continual slanders ride, the which in every language I pronounce, stuffing the ears of men with false reports. I speak of peace, while covert enmity, under the smile of safety, wounds the world. And who but rumour, who but only I, make fearful musters and prepared defence, whiles the big year, swollen with some other grief, is thought with child by the stern tyrant war, and no such matter. Rumour is a pipe blown by surmises, jealousies, conjectures, and of so easy and so plain a stop, that the blunt monster with uncounted heads, the still discordant wavering multitude, can play upon it. But what need I thus my well-known body to anatomize among my household? Why is rumour here? I run before King Harry's victory, who in a bloody field by Shrewsbury hath beaten down young Hotspur and his troops, quenching the flame of bold rebellion, even with the rebels' blood. But what mean I to speak so true at first? My office is to noise abroad that Harry Monmouth fell under the wrath of noble Hotspur's sword, and that the king, before the Douglas rage, stooped his anointed head as low as death. This have I rumoured through the peasant towns between that royal field of Shrewsbury and this worm-eaten hold of Ragged Stone, where Hotspur's father, old Northumberland, lies crafty sick. The posts come tiring on, and not a man of them brings other news than they have learnt of me. From rumour's tongues they bring smooth comforts, false, worse than true wrongs. End of Open Your Ears by Rumour, from Henry IV, Part 2, Prologue. This recording is in the public domain.
This day is called the Feast of Crispian, from Henry V, Act 4, Scene 3, by William Shakespeare, read in English for LibriVox.org by J. Olpecker. What's he that wishes so? My cousin, Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are now to do our country loss. And if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honour. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one man more. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It yearns me not if men my garments wear. Such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honour, I am the most offending soul alive. No, faith, my cause, wish not a man from England. God's peace. I would not lose so great an honour as one man more, methinks, would share from me for the best hope I have. Oh, do not wish one more. Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when the day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall live this day and see old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbours, and say, Tomorrow is Saint Crispin. Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars, and say, These wounds I had on Crispin's day. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot. But he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names, familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son. And Crispin shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother, be he ne'er so vile. This day shall gentle his condition, and gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whilst any speaks that fought with us upon Saint Crispin's day. End of this day is called the Feast of Crispian, from Henry V, Act 4, Scene 3. This recording is in the public domain. Recording by J. Olpecker.
Friends, Romans, Countrymen, by Anthony, from Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 2, by William Shakespeare, read in English for LibriVox.org by Piotr Natter. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them, the good is oft interred with their bones. So let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus hath told you Caesar was ambitious. If it were so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously had Caesar answered it, here under leave of Brutus and the rest. For Brutus is an honourable man, so are they all honourable men. Come I to speak in Caesar's funeral? He was my friend, faithful and just to me, but Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honourable man. He hath brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? When that the poor have cried, Caesar hath wept. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honourable man. You all did see that on the Lupercal I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and sure he is an honourable man. I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but here I am to speak what I do know. You all did love him once, not without cause. What cause withholds you then to mourn for him? O judgment, thou art fled to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason. My heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me. End of Friends, Romans, Countrymen, from Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 2. This recording is in the public domain.
Mad World, Mad Kings, Mad Composition by Philip Falconbridge the Bastard, from King John, Act 2, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by John Burlinson. Mad world, mad kings, mad composition. John, to stop Arthur's title in the whole, hath willingly departed with a part, and France, whose armour conscience buckled on, whom zeal and charity brought into the field as God's own soldier, rounded in the ear with that same purpose changer, that sly devil, that broker, that still breaks the pate of faith, that daily break vow, he that wins of all, of kings, of beggars, old men, young men, maids, who, having no external thing to lose but the word maid, cheats the poor maid of that. The smooth-faced gentleman tickling commodity. Commodity, the bias of the world. The world, who of itself is pised well, made to run even upon even ground, till this advantage, this vile drawing bias, this sway of motion, this commodity, makes it take heed from all indifferency, from all direction, purpose, course, intent, and this same bias, this commodity, this bawd, this broker, this all-changing word, clapped on the outward eye of fickle France, hath drawn him from his own determined aid, from a resolved and honourable war, to a most base and vile concluded peace. And why rail I on this commodity? But for because he hath not wooed me yet. Not that I have the power to clutch my hand when his fair angels would salute my palm, but for my hand, as unattempted yet, like a poor beggar raileth on the rich. Well, whiles I am a beggar, I will rail, and say there is no sin but to be rich. And being rich, my virtue then shall be to say there is no vice but beggary. Since kings break faith upon commodity, gain be my lord, for I will worship thee. End of Mad World, Mad Kings, Mad Composition, from King John, Act 2, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain.
The Raven Himself is Hoarse, by Lady Macbeth, from Macbeth, Act 1, Scene 5, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Lucy Perry.
The raven himself is hoarse that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here, and fill me from the crown to the toe top full of direst cruelty. Make thick my blood, stop up the access and passage to remorse, that no compunctuous visitings of nature shake my fell purpose, nor keep peace between the effect and it. Come to my woman's breasts and take my milk for gall, you murdering ministers, wherever in your sightless substances you wait on nature's mischief. Come, thick night, and pull thee in the dunnest smoke of hell, that my keen knife see not the wound it makes, nor heaven peep through the blanket of the dark to cry, Hold, hold. Great Glamis, worthy Cawdor, greater than both by the all-hail hereafter, thy letters have transported me beyond the ignorant present, and I feel now the future in the instant.
End of The Raven Himself is Hoarse, from Macbeth, Act 1, Scene 5. This recording is in the public domain. Recording by Lucy Perry, in Bath.
Be Absolute for Death, by the Duke, from Measure for Measure, Act 3, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Tony Addison. Be absolute for death. Either death or life shall thereby be the sweeter. Reason thus with life. If I do lose thee, I do lose a thing, that none but fools would keep. A breath thou art, servile to all the skyey influences that dost this habitation where thou keep'st hourly afflict. Merely thou art death's fool. For him thou labourest by thy flight to shun, and yet runs toward him still. Thou art not noble, for all the accommodations that thou bearest are nursed by baseness. Thou art by no means valiant, for thou dost fear the soft and tender fork of a poor worm. Thy best of rest is sleep, and that thou oft provokest, yet grossly fearest thy death, which is no more. Thou art not thyself, for thou existest on many 1,000 grains that issue out of dust. Happy thou art not, for what thou hast not, still thou strivest to get, and what thou hast, forget'st. Thou art not certain, for thy complexion shifts to strange effects after the moon. If thou art rich, thou art poor, for like an ass whose back with ingots bows, thou bearest thy heavy riches but a journey, and death unloads thee. Friend hast thou none, for thine own bowels, which do call thee sire, the mere effusion of thy proper loins, do curse the gout, serpigo, and the rheum, for ending thee no sooner. Thou hast nor youth nor age, but as it were an after-dinner's sleep, dreaming on both. For all thy blessed youth becomes as aged, and doth beg the alms of palsied eld. And when thou art old and rich, thou hast neither heat, affection, limb, nor beauty to make thy riches pleasant. What yet in this that bears the name of life? Yet in this life lie hid more 1,000 deaths, yet death we fear, that makes these odds all even. End of Be Absolute for Death, from Measure for Measure, Act 3, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain.
The Quality of Mercy is Not Strained, by Portia, from The Merchant of Venice, Act 4, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Beth Thomas. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His sceptre shows the force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptred sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God himself. And earthly power doth then show likest God's, when mercy seasons justice. Therefore, Jew, though justice be thy plea, consider this, that, in the course of justice, none of us should see salvation. We do pray for mercy, and that same prayer doth teach us all to render the deeds of mercy. I have spoke thus much to mitigate the justice of thy plea, which, if thou follow, this strict court of Venice must needs give sentence 'gainst the merchant there. End of The Quality of Mercy is Not Strained. From The Merchant of Venice, Act 4, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain.
Go fetch me a quart of sack, by Falstaff, from The Merry Wives of Windsor, Act 3, Scene 5, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org, by John Burlinson. Go fetch me a quart of sack. Put a toast in't. Have I lived to be carried in a basket like a barrel of butcher's offal, and to be thrown in the Thames? Well, if I be served such another trick, I'll have my brains ta'en out and buttered, and give them to a dog for a New Year's gift. Sblood! The rogue slighted me into the river with as little remorse as they would have drowned a blind bitch's puppies. 15 of the litter. And you may know by my size that I have a kind of alacrity in sinking. If the bottom were as deep as hell, I should down. I had been drowned, but that the shore was shelvy and shallow. A death that I abhor, for the water swells a man, and what a thing should I have been when I had been swelled? By the Lord, I should have been a mountain of mummy. Here's Mistress Quickly, sir, to speak with you. Come, let me pour in some sack to the Thames water, for my belly's as cold as if I had swallowed snowballs for pills to cool the rains. Call her in. End of Go Fetch Me a Quart of Sack from The Merry Wives of Windsor, Act 3, Scene 5. This recording is in the public domain.
Full of vexation come I with complaint, by Aegeus, from A Midsummer Night's Dream, Act 1, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare, read in English for LibriVox.org, by Algy Pug. Full of vexation come I with complaint against my child, my daughter Hermia. Stand forth, Demetrius. My noble lord, this man hath my consent to marry her. Stand forth, Lysander. And, my gracious duke, this man hath bewitched the bosom of my child. Thou, Lysander, thou hast given her rhymes, and interchanged love tokens with my child. Thou hast by moonlight at her window sung, with feigning voice, verses of feigning love, and stolen the impression of her fantasy with bracelets of thy hair, rings, gauds, conceits, knacks, trifles, nosegays, sweetmeats, messengers of strong prevailment in unhardened youth. With cunning hast thou filched my daughter's heart, turned her obedience, which is due to me, to stubborn harshness. And, my gracious duke, be it so she will not here before your grace consent to marry with Demetrius, I beg the ancient privilege of Athens. As she is mine, I may dispose of her, which shall be either to this gentleman or to her death, according to our law immediately provided in that case. End of Full of vexation come I with complaint, from A Midsummer Night's Dream, Act 1, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain. More Strange Than True by Theseus from A Midsummer Night's Dream, Act 5, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug. More strange than true. I never may believe these antique fables, nor these fairy toys. Lovers and madmen have such seething brains, such shaping fantasies, that apprehend more than cool reason ever comprehends. The lunatic, the lover, and the poet are of imagination all compact. One sees more devils than vast hell can hold. That is the madman. The lover, all as frantic, sees Helen's beauty in the brow of Egypt. The poet's eye, in fine frenzy rolling, doth glance from heaven to earth, from earth to heaven, and as imagination bodies forth the forms of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them to shapes, and gives to airy nothing a local habitation and a name. Such tricks hath strong imagination, that if it would but apprehend some joy, it comprehends some bringer of that joy. Or, in the night, imagining some fear, how easy is a bush supposed a bear. End of More Strange Than True from A Midsummer Night's Dream, Act 5, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain.
I have been studying how I may compare, by King Richard, from Richard II, Act 5, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare, read in English for LibriVox.org by John Burlinson. I have been studying how I may compare this prison where I live unto the world. And for because the world is populous, and here is not a creature but myself, I cannot do it. Yet I'll hammer it out. My brain I'll prove the female to my soul the father, and these two beget a generation of still breeding thoughts, and these same thoughts people this little world in humours like the people of this world, for no thought is contented. The better sort, as thoughts of things divine, are intermixed with scruples, and do set the word itself against the word, as thus: come, little ones, and then again, it is as hard to come as for a camel to thread the postern of a small needle's eye. Thoughts tending to ambition, they do plot unlikely wonders, how these vain weak nails may tear a passage through the flinty ribs of this hard world, my ragged prison walls, and, for they cannot, die in their own pride. Thoughts tending to content flatter themselves that they are not the first of fortune's slaves, nor shall not be the last. Like silly beggars who, sitting in the stocks, refuge their shame that many have and others must sit there, and in this thought they find a kind of ease, bearing their own misfortunes on the back of such as have before endured the like. Thus play I in one person many people, and none contented. Sometimes am I king, then treasons make me wish myself a beggar, and so I am. Then crushing penury persuades me I was better when a king. Then am I kinged again, and by think that I am unkinged by Bolingbroke, and straight am nothing. But whate'er I be, nor I nor any man that but man is, with nothing shall be pleased, till he be eased with being nothing. Music do I hear? Ha! Ha! Keep time! How sour sweet music is, when time is broke, and no proportion kept! So it is in the music of men's lives. And here have I the daintiness of ear to check time broke in a disordered string. But for the concord of my state and time, had not an ear to hear my true time broke. I wasted time, and now doth time waste me. For now hath time made me his numbering clock. My thoughts are minutes, and with sighs they jar their watches on unto mine eyes, the outward watch, whereto my finger, like a dial's point, is pointing still in cleansing them from tears. Now, sir, the sound that tells what hour it is are clamorous groans, which strike upon my heart, which is the bell. So sighs and tears and groans show minutes, times, and hours. But my time runs posting on in Bolingbroke's proud joy, while I stand fooling here, his jack o' the clock. This music mads me. Let it sound no more, for though it have hoped madmen to their wits, in me it seems it will make wise men mad. Yet blessing on his heart that gives it me, for 'tis a sign of love, and love to Richard is a strange brooch in this all-hating world. End of I have been studying how I may compare, from Richard II, Act 5, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain.
Now is the winter of our discontent, by Gloucester, from Richard III, Act 1, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare. Read in German for LibriVox.org, by L.G. Pugh. Nun war der Winter unseres Missvergnügens, glorreicher Sommer durch die Sonne Yorks. Die Wolken all, die unser Haus bedroht, sind in des Weltmeeres tiefem Schoß begraben. Nun zieren unsere blauen Siegeskränze, die scharken Waffen hängen als Trophäen. Aus Raumverlärm wurden muntre Feste, aus furchtbaren Märchen holde Tanzmusiken. Der grimmige Krieg hat seine Stirn entrunzelt. Und statt zu reiten das gehanschte Ross, drohtet Gegner Seelen zu erschrecken, hüpft behend in einer Dame Zimmer, nach üppigem Gefallen eine Laute. Doch ich, zu Possenspielen nicht gemacht, noch zu buhlen mit verliebten Spiegeln. Ich, roh geprägt, entblößt vom Liebesmajestät, vor leicht sich drehenden Nymphen mich zu brüsten. Ich, dies schöne Ebenmaß verkürzt, von der Naturumbildung falsch betrogen, entstellt, verwahrlost, vor der Zeit gesandt in diese Welt des Atmens, halb kaum fertig gemacht, und zwar so lahm und ungeziemend, das Hundebellen hink ich wo vorbei. Ich nun, in dieser schlaffen Friedenszeit, weiß keine Lust, die Zeit mir zu vertreiben, als meinen Schatten in der Sonne spähen und meine eigne Missgestalt erirrten. Und darum, weil ich nicht als ein Verliebter kann kurzen diese fein beredten Tage, bin ich gewillt, ein Bösewicht zu werden und Feind den eitlen Freuden dieser Tage. An Schläge mach ich, schlimme Einleitungen, durchtrunkne Weissagungen, Schriften, Träume, um meinen Bruder Clarence und den König in Todfeindschaft einander zu verhetzen. Und ist nur König Eduard treu und echt, wie ich verschmitzt, falsch und verräterisch, so muß heut Clarence eng verhaftet werden für eine Weissagung, die sagt, dass G den Erben Eduards nach dem Leben steh. Taucht unter ihre Gedanken. Clarence kommt. Clarence kommt mit Wache und Brackenberry. Mein Bruder, guten Tag. Was soll die Wache bei euer Gnaden? End of Now is the Winter of Our Discontent, by Gloucester, from Richard III, Act 1, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain.
Farewell, God knows when we shall meet again, by Juliet, from Romeo and Juliet, Act 4, Scene 3, by William Shakespeare, read in English for LibriVox.org by Beth Thomas. Farewell, God knows when we shall meet again. I have a faint, cold fear thrills through my veins that almost freezes up the heat of life. I'll call them back again to comfort me. Nurse! What should she do here? My dismal scene I needs must act alone. Come, Vial. What if this mixture do not work at all? Shall I be married then to-morrow morning? No, no! This shall forbid it. Lie thou there, laying down her dagger. What if it be a poison, which the friar subtly hath ministered to have me dead, lest in this marriage he should be dishonoured, because he married me before to Romeo? I fear it is, and yet methinks it should not, for he hath still been tried a holy man. How if, when I am laid into the tomb, I wake before the time that Romeo come to redeem me? There's a fearful point. Shall I not then be stifled in the vault, to whose foul mouth no healthsome air breathes in, and there die strangled ere my Romeo comes? Or, if I live, is it not very like the horrible conceit of death and night, together with the terror of the place, as in a vault, an ancient receptacle, where for these many 100 years the bones of all my buried ancestors are packed, where bloody Tybalt, yet but green in earth, lies festering in his shroud, where, as they say, at some hours in the night spirits resort? Alack, alack! Is it not like that I so early waking, what with loathsome smells, and shrieks like mandrakes torn out of the earth, that living mortals hearing them run mad? Oh, if I wake, shall I not be distraught, environed with all these hideous fears, and madly play with my forefathers' joints, and pluck the mangled Tybalt from his shroud, and in this rage with some great kinsman's bone, as with a club, dash out my desperate brains? Oh, look! Methinks I see my cousin's ghost seeking out Romeo, that did spit his body upon a rapier's point. Stay, Tybalt, stay! Romeo, I come. This do I drink to thee. Ah! She falls upon her bed within the curtains. End of Farewell, God knows when we shall meet again. From Romeo and Juliet, Act 4, Scene 3. This recording is in the public domain.
Now My Charms Are All O'erthrown, by Prospero. From The Tempest, Epilogue, by William Shakespeare. Performed in English for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. Now my charms are all o'erthrown, and what strength I have's mine own, which is most faint. Now 'tis true I must be here confined by you, or sent to Naples. Let me not, since I have my dukedom got, and pardon the deceiver, dwell in this bare island by your spell, but release me from my bands, with the help of your good hands. Gentle breath of yours my sails must fill, or else my project fails, which was to please. Now I want spirits to enforce, art to enchant, and my ending is despair, unless I be relieved by prayer, which pierces so that it assaults mercy itself, and frees all faults. As you from crimes would pardoned be, let your indulgence set me free. End of Now My Charms Are All O'erthrown, from The Tempest, Epilogue. This recording is in the public domain. Ye Elves of Hills, Brooks, Standing Lakes and Groves, by Prospero, from The Tempest, Act 5, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare, performed in English for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. Ye elves of hills, brooks, standing lakes and groves, and ye that on the sands with printless foot do chase the ebbing Neptune, and do fly him when he comes back, you demi-puppets that by moonshine do the green sour ringlets make whereof the ewe not bites, and you whose pastime is to make midnight mushrooms that rejoice to hear the solemn curfew, by whose aid, weak masters though ye be, I have bedimmed the noontide sun, called forth the mutinous winds, and twixt the green sea and the azur'd vault set roaring war. To the dread rattling thunder have I given fire, and rifted Jove's stout oak with his own bolt. The strong-based promontory have I made shake, and by the spurs plucked up the pine and cedar. Graves at my command have waked their sleepers, oped and let 'em forth by my so potent art. But this rough magic I here abjure, and when I have required some heavenly music, which even now I do, to work mine end upon their senses that this airy charm is for, I'll break my staff, bury it certain fathoms in the earth, and deeper than did ever plummet sound, I'll drown my book. End of Ye Elves of Hills, Brooks, Standing Lakes and Groves, from The Tempest, Act 5, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain.
Thou want'st a rough pash and the shoots that I have, by Leontes, from The Winter's Tale, Act 1, Scene 2, by William Shakespeare, read in English for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug. Thou want'st a rough pash, and the shoots that I have, to be full like me. Yet they say we are almost as like as eggs. Women say so, that will say anything, but were they false, as o'er-dyed blacks, as wind, as waters, false as dice are to be wished by one that fixes no born twixt his and mine. Yet were it true, to say this boy were like me. Come, Sir Page, look on me with your welkin eye. Sweet villain, most dearest, my collop, can thy dam, may it be? Affection, thy intention stabs the centre. Thou dost make possible things not so held, communicatest with dreams. How can this be? With what's unreal thou coact of art, and fellow'st nothing. Then 'tis very credent thou mayst co-join with something, and thou dost, and that beyond commission, and I find it, and that to the infection of my brains, and hardening of my brows. End of Thou want'st a rough pash, and the shoots that I have. From The Winter's Tale, Act 1, Scene 2. This recording is in the public domain.